Tunji again from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring that bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this design that I got from one of my followers on Instagram. So we are going to be using two applications to make this possible. We're going to be using Photoshop and Illustrator. And without any further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. Like I said previously, we are using two applications to achieve this project. I'm going to create the coil effect in Illustrator and I'll convert it to a 3D look and put everything together in Photoshop. So let's start with Illustrator and create the coil effect. So I'm going to create a new document. I'll click on File and I'll select New. So for this project, I'm going to just use 900 by 900. Alright, and I'll leave every other settings the way they are and I'll click on the create. Alright, so I'm going to click on the text tool. I'll type 7 with the text tool. Alright, so I'm going to scale this big like so. Alright, and I'm going to change. So the font I'm going to be using is going to be the Helvetica Noir. Okay, so I'm going to use the bold. So I'm going to scale this big like so and I'll position this here. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is to make a copy of this. So I'm holding on Alt and I drag to make a copy of it, and I right click, go to transform and select reflect. I'm going to make this 90 degree and I'll check the vertical radio button here and I'm going to say okay. Next is to move this close to this just like so. Alright, so I'm going to move this to this side like so. And I'm going to draw a rectangle shape with my rectangle tool, and I'll change the color of this to gray because we are converting this to 3D, so I want to be able to see my figure after converting it to 3D. So I'm going to just make it a little bit wider. So we need to convert the figure to a symbol. So I'm going to go to Object and expand it and click on OK. Then I'll click on the symbol tab here, and if you can't find this symbol tab, simply go to Windows. Alright, so this is it here. Okay, so I'm going to drag this and drop here like so, and I'm just going to call this 7. Now, select Graphix and I'm going to select OK. Now I'm going to select the rectangle shape. Alright, so I'm going to move this in a little bit more like so, and we don't actually need this anymore, so I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to move this here and I'll go to Effect, 3D and select Revolve, and this should go up and this should go this way. Then I'll click on Preview, so I'll click on Map Art and I'll go straight to 3 like so, and I'll click on the 7 here. Then I'm going to move this here like so. Then I'm going to rotate it just like so. I'll move this in just a little bit more. Okay, so I think this is good, and I'm going to just click on the OK button here and click on OK here. So we have this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to expand this because we need to be able to take this coil effect from the 3D. So I'll go to Objects, Expand Appearance, and I'll go to Ungroup. So you need to keep clicking the Ungroup option till it's grayed out. So I'm just continue clicking the Ungroup. Now you see it's grayed out already. Click on the 3D. The next thing I'm going to do is to go to my Objects menu here and click on Clipping Mask and click Release. And now we have the coil out of the 3D. So I'm going to just click on it and I'll click on Control to copy it. Then I'll go straight to Photoshop. Alright, so we need to create a new document, File, and I'll select New. And for this project, I'm going to use A6 paper size because it's a book cover. So I'm going to leave the resolution to be 300 fps. So I'm going to click on the create button. So next is to paste the coil effect that we copied from Illustrator. So I'm going to hit Ctrl V on my keyboard and make sure that you are on the shape layer option. So I'm going to click OK. Now we have the coil effect here. So the next thing I'm going to do again is to go to Illustrator again and expand this, and I'll click OK. So I'll copy it again, then I'll go straight to Photoshop and paste it and click on OK again. Shift select the two layers and bring out the free transform and scale this down like so. Alright, so I'm going to move this here and this should go here. Now, one of the reasons why I always like to use the shape layer option when I'm pasting object from Illustrator is because I always want to be able to change the color of my object. So I'm going to just come here and change the color to something I can easily see. So, and I'm going to move this above the layer of the 7. So I'm going to just call this 7, and I'm going to call this coil. And so I'm going to move this here like so, and I'm going to bring out the free transform, and I'll just drag this. I can even still rotate it and move it to somewhere around here. So I'm going to bring out the free transform and scale this big like so. So the next thing we're doing now is to draw the cutout part here in Photoshop. So I'm going to click on the pen tool and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to start from here like so, and I'm going to just drag this. This should be inside the figure, so I'm going to hold down Alt and click to put it inside the 7. Move this out a bit, then move this in a bit like so. Okay, so let's just change the color so as to be able to see if we're actually doing the right thing. Okay, so we have this, and we need to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to zoom in and I'll click here, and just I'm going to make this go out of the shape like so, and I'll hold on Alt and click like so, and I'll hold on Shift and click again. Then I'll make sure that this fall on the part of the figure like so. Okay, so this is not bad. So the next thing we're doing now is to add shadow to the project to give it a 3D look. And before I do that, I need to bring in the background image. So I'm going to drag that and drop here like so, and I'm going to rotate this and scale this big, and this should be behind the layer. So I'm going to zoom in like so, and so I'm going to change the color of this to white. So I'm going to use white here. I'm going to add shadows to this. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this shadow 1. I'm going to create a lot of shadow here, so I'm going to select the brush tool, and I'm going to change this to black. Just the size of my brush like so. Okay, and I'm going to go to the brush settings, and I'm going to turn on the transfer option here. So make sure my transfer option is checked, and I'm just going to brush like so, brush. So if you don't have a graphics tablet, okay, you can reduce your flow to 10. All right, you can make it 10 or 15. You're going to get the same effect. Okay, so I'm going to just brush here like so. I'm going to hold down Control and click to create a mark of that shape that we drew previously, and I'm going to click on the layer mask button here. All right, and so you see now that shadow is now inside the shape. So I'm going to just do the same thing here. Again, I'm going to add more shadow to this side, just like so, to give it that curvy look. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to create another shadow under this curve here. So I'm going to click on the new layer icon, and I'm going to call the shadow again. So I'm just going to add just light shadow to this side like so, and for this side I'm going to add more shadow. Okay, from this to white. Okay, so I use the same color I used previously. Okay, and I'm just gonna add that shadow to the side of the project. Now you see we're seeing some part of the 7 here which is not looking nice to me, so I'm gonna bring on the free transform on this shape, and I'm just going to scale this big like so, just to make it go out a bit. All right, so I'll go back here, and I'm just gonna add the shadow to this part of my project like so. Create a new layer, and I'll call this shadow again. Click on OK. Now I need to move this down so as to be able to see my layers. So I'm going to hold down Control and click on this bottom curve part. In fact, let's just give it a name. I'm just going to call the bottom so as to be able to locate them. Call the bottom cuts. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer mask. Okay, so as to not allow my shadow to go out of the shape. So I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to add more shadow to this side of the shape like so. So it's looking as if my shadow is too strong, so I'm gonna go to the layer mask, and I need to switch to black, and I'm just gonna take out some part of. Okay, so come here, select the brush tool. I'm just gonna add more brush effect to this like so. Okay, um so what I'm going to do again is I'm going to hold down Control again and click to create a marquee of that shape. I'm going to create a new layer again, and I'll call this shadow bottom. Okay, and I'll fill this with black with Alt backspace. Then this should be behind the bottom cut layer, and I'm going to go to filter, blur, and I'll select Gaussian blur. All right, now my Gaussian blur should not be too strong, so I'm just going to hit OK, and I'm going to bring out the free transform, right click, and select the skew, not rotate, skew, and push this down like so. All right, let's make it go down like so. All right, and I'm going to add a layer mask to this, and I'll select the brush tool. I'm just going to take out the shadow from this part of my project like so, and I'm just going to take it out from here. I can even zoom in and just take it out from here like so. All right, and we can even reduce the opacity just like so. For the coils, I'm going to change that to white again, It's white, like so. Okay, and I'm holding on Alt while I click on the new layer icon, and I'm going to change this to shadow coil. All right, and hold on Control and click. All right, and I'm going to select the brush tool. I'm going to increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to start. So I'm going to click on the layer of the shadow coil, and I'm just going to add. All right, so we're beginning to get that 3D look. So for this side, we still need to add more shadow. Yeah, let's see. So we need to make this part of the shadow more stronger. So I'm just gonna brush like so, and so for this side, let's just take out some part of the figure. That's the 7 from this side of the layer. So I'm gonna add a layer mask, and I'm gonna use the hard brush for this, and I'll reduce the size of my brush and just take out some part of the figure like so. Right. For my background, all right, I am going to go to filter, blur, and I'll select motion blur, and this should not be too much, like so. I'm just gonna make it a shade like so, and we're gonna darken this a bit, all right, because I'm beginning to lost some part of this shape here, so I'm going to just dial this down like so. We need to make this look more real. We need to get the thickness of the paper. So to do that, I'm going to right click and select the bottom cut layer, and I'm going to hold down Control and click. And so I'm going to call this Paperweight. I'm going to select OK. Then I'll pick a color from here like so, and so I'm going to use Alt Backspace to add the color. All right, and I'll move this to be above the shadow of that layer, and I'm going to hit the Ctrl D on my keyboard to remove the Marquee, and I'm going to make a copy of this. All right, and I'm going to use my up and down arrow key to move this. So I'll start with the down arrow by clicking once, and I'll move it to the left with my arrow key again one more time, and I'm going to hold on Control and click to create a marquee of that shape. I'm going to hide this, then I'm going to use the backspace on my keyboard to cut out that part from that layer. So I'm going to hit the Ctrl D on my keyboard. Now you see we have that paper thickness now, so I'm going to do the same thing here. So for this one, I'm going to right click on the shape. So I'm going to hold on Control and click. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll call this top width. And now we have this, and we don't need these two layers anymore. All right, so I'm going to put everything here in a group. All right, so I'm going to hold on Control G on my keyboard, and I'll call this 7, and I'll add the layer mask to this, and I need to blend this side of the project. So I'm going to select the brush tool, and I'm just going to oops, I'm using the hard brush, so I need to go back to the soft brush, and I'm just going to right. So this is what we have now, and so for the figure, So I'm going to drag this and drop here like so, and this should go inside the 7 like so. All right. Okay, so I almost forgot, we need to add shadow to this part of the 7. So I'm going to hold on Alt and click. I'll call this shadow, and I'll call 7 in front of it, and I'm going to select the brush tool. All right, and hit the D key on my keyboard, and I'm just going to brush to add this should be above this, yeah. So I'm going to just brush this like so, just to add shadow to it. All right, just like so. All right, so my shadow is going outside of the shape, so I'm going to use the eraser tool to just take out the shadow from this part of the layer, just like so. Select the brush tool. I'm just gonna add this. Now there's another thing I notice here, so I need to make this more curvy. So to do that, I'm going to be on the top width layer, and I'll switch to my hard brush, and I'm gonna check the shape dynamic option here and turn off the pen pressure like so, and I'm just going to so I need to switch this to white, and I'm just going to brush to add this part so as to make it have that curvy look. All right, and I'll go to the FX button here and add inner shadow. And I'm gonna select OK. So let's bring in our key. So I'm gonna drag that and drop here like so. Now my key is too short, so I'm going to go to my crop tool and drag this up. All right, and I'll go back to my move tool. So for the key, we need to bring out the free transform, and I'm gonna rotate this. All right, and I'm gonna zoom out. Just need to be here. All right. So I need to take out the white box in here, so I'm going to just hit the backspace. So what I'm going to do is to just create a marquee of this shape at the bottom of my key, and I'm going to hit the Ctrl Shift and J to cut out and make a copy for that cutout part, and I'm going to drag that down like so, and I'll do the same thing here. All right, click on the layer of the key and hit Ctrl J, and I'll bring out the free transform, and I'll drag that down like so. All right, and I'm going to weld all the layers, so I'm going to hold on Shift and select the 3 layers and hit Ctrl E on my keyboard. Then I'll go straight to the call project and drag that here and move this to be above all other layers inside the 7. So this should be like this, and I'm going to convert this to a smart object. So I'm going to create a shadow. So I'm going to hold on Control and click to make a marquee of the key, and I'm going to click on the new layer icon here and move this behind the layer of the key, and I'm going to call this. All right, and so I'm going to hold down Control and click to add the color of my background to the layer. So I'm going to hit the Control D on my keyboard to deselect this, and I'm just going to use my up and down arrow key to move this out, and I'm going to go to filter, blur, and I'll select Gaussian blur, and this should go up like so. I'm going to move this down. What I'm going to do is to click on my color balance here and just add some yellow to the mid-tone, and for the shadow, I'm just gonna have red. And this is the final project. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have not subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring that bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. If there's any design you want me to achieve, simply post it on your Instagram page and remember to use the hashtag Ceasar Graphix. I'll see you guys again in the next one. Peace.